Coming up on Mountain News at 6, the Harlan community continues to mourn the death of a Kentucky State Police sergeant. Plus, a recently approved amendment to House Bill 329 has attorneys discussing the potential future for people with a criminal record.
And the summer sizzle looks to continue for the rest of this week, but we are tracking some changes by early next week. All those details coming up as Mountain News at 6 starts now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 6.
Kentucky State Police Sergeant Jared Boggs died earlier this week after a brief illness, leaving behind a legacy for the community of Harlan. WYMT's RJ Johnson has more.
Sergeant Jared Boggs served the Kentucky State Police Force since graduating from the academy in December 2005. From there, he would spend the next 18 years serving the Kentucky State Police Post in Harlan, where he was able to be a role model.
He's impacted young troopers here. He's been a supervisor here since 2017. So he's had the influence as a role model, not just for the community, but for young and upcoming troopers and police officers in general that have been able to be around him.
After nearly 2 decades with KSP, he died at the age of 39. Captain Danny Caudle says his presence will never be replaced.
Well, he'll be remembered here. He's been here, like I said, for 18 years, and you just can't replace that type of experience, that personality. It's irreplaceable.
He says not only was Boggs passionate about being a trooper, but he was even more passionate about being a dad to his son, Zachary.
That was his #1 priority. Everything came second to his son. The school and the Little League are things near and dear to his son's heart, which made it near and dear to Jared's heart. So he wants to continue giving by helping his son with his future and making sure those things are around to exist, to be part of that.
Which is why he did everything he could, not only for the community, but for his family.
He's coached every sport for every team that his son has ever played. He's very involved in his son's life and in youth sports with him. I mean, he's impacted a lot of lives in Harlan County, not just from a trooper, but as a father, as a coach. He's a husband, a grandfather, a son, a friend, a brother. He's impacted a lot of people in this county.
With outpouring support from the community, Captain Caudle says his presence will always be felt. In Harlan, RJ Johnson, WYMT Mountain News.
Visitation for Sergeant Boggs is set for Saturday from 1 p.m. until 3 p.m. at the Harlan High School gym. Immediately following the visitation will be the funeral. The family has asked to send donations of flowers to the Harlan Little League. A death investigation is underway after a body was found in McCreary County. Officials with the McCreary County Coroner's Office say they found a body of a man at 700 Webster Road in Whitley City yesterday. After they found where the body was, they pronounced it dead just after 6 p.m. The coroner's office says they believe the remains were tied to 38-year-old Henry Stewart Lang of McCreary County. He was last seen on June 13th. The remains of Lang's body were sent to the medical examiner's office in Frankfort for further ID and determination of death. One person is dead after a crash in Virginia. The crash occurred Monday afternoon on Route 83, less than a mile west of Route 701 in Buchanan County. A man was driving a Chevy Avalanche on Route 83 when the truck crossed over the center line and struck a Nissan Frontier. This resulted in both vehicles coming to a halt against the guardrail. The drivers of both vehicles, 28-year-old Justin C. Van Dyke of Oakwood, Virginia, and 45-year-old Connie C. McClanahan of Grundy, Virginia, were taken to the hospital for treatment of serious injuries. The passenger in the Nissan Frontier, 56-year-old Warren T.E. Klein of Grundy, Virginia, died at the scene. All three were not wearing a seatbelt. A Pike County road is closed due to a 2-car crash this morning. The collision happened on State Highway 194 East in the Phelps community. No word at this time on when the road will be back open. We will update the story as we receive more information. A Magoffin County road that was closed due to this past weekend's severe weather has reopened. Ivy Point Hill Road was closed because of a major mudslide causing mud, water, and tree branches to block the path. The road reopened earlier today after crews worked for 2 days to clear the debris. A shooting investigation is underway in Lexington, this one happening overnight on Stonehaven Drive. 3 people were hurt. Lexington police say they were called out just after midnight for fireworks and possible shots fired. They found shell casings and property damage, including several tires shot out and bullet holes in a fence and hood of a car. Broken glass littered the street. Around the same time, 2 adult males and 1 juvenile male showed up at the hospital with non-life-threatening gunshot wounds.
Most of our street is like pretty aged. A lot of my neighbors are a lot older, so it's once again contributed to it being quiet, but kind of things are starting to change over here, it seems like. So
Lexington police say they do not have any suspect information available at this time, and their investigation is ongoing. They are asking anyone with information contact them or Bluegrass Crime Stoppers. Changes to a law during this year's legislative session have attorneys celebrating the General Assembly. Lawmakers are opening options to have more low-level criminal judgments vacated. WYMT's Buddy Forbes has more about a small insertion that attorneys say will have a big impact.
A change in words that could change the world for someone who has a criminal record.
To give a lot of people, especially here in eastern Kentucky, a second chance.
This year, Kentucky lawmakers expanded expungement opportunities to allow people to file to have multiple Class D felonies removed from public access.
That's just going to be multiple felony offenses. So that's the big change.
For people to expunge their records and move forward with their lives unburdened by the weight of past mistakes that they might have made.
A focus on forward movement that attorneys like Tanner Hesterberg say could be a game changer for people working to turn the page.
I mean, you think about trying to find a good job, trying to secure good housing, gun rights, scholarship opportunities.
Holding the prerequisites it has always contained, only applying to Class D felonies that do not include sexual offenses, crimes against children, or crimes that led to major injuries or death.
We're not talking about Bonnie and Clyde's here. We're talking about good, honest, hardworking people who want their record to reflect the positive changes that they've made in their lives since they made a mistake years ago.
Like the possession charges that have been plaguing Michael Ratliff, rendering him unable to bond with his family in the ways he used to.
I ain't got to deer hunt in 10 years. And I love to deer hunt.
Though Ratliff says he has been walking a new walk for years, he has been held to the chains of the choices he made when he was at his lowest 10 years ago.
All the money I made and all the, I wouldn't trade my gun rights for all of that. I wouldn't, if I had to do over, it never would have happened.
So the idea that a new law could help others in his shoes find forgiveness.
Oh, people look down on you for it. I mean, and we're all human and we all make mistakes. I mean, some learn from it, some don't.
Leaves him hopeful that the reformed can be renewed. In Pike County, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
Hesterberg says anyone who believes they qualify for expungement should contact an attorney and try to get their record recovered, saying it can be a powerful tool for paving their tomorrow.
Mild and muggy weather continues across the mountains as we go into this evening. Those current temperatures middle to upper 80s for most of us right now. 83 for Jackson, 85 over in Irvine, sitting at 84 for London, also in Manchester as well. For most of us, we are dry right now on radar, but notice we are tracking a few heavier showers not too far away over portions of Madison County between Richmond, also just to the west of Irvine. A few heavier showers in this location. Also watching out for this heavier cell just to the west of Campbell County, Tennessee. So overall, the threat for showers tonight is low, but it's not zero. Some of you could see a few showers out there. If you have any plans to go out to dinner, it's going to be toasty. Temperatures middle to upper 80s out there. And again, most of us are dry, but a few stray showers cannot be ruled out. However, we are tracking some higher rain chances to return as early as tomorrow, and the weekend also looking soggy at times as well, mainly by Saturday night, also into your Sunday. All those details coming up in just a few minutes. Olivia?
All right, thank you, Cameron. Frustration is growing at an eastern Kentucky apartment complex. The apartment complex in Breathitt County is without an elevator. It was damaged in the July floods nearly a year ago. The complex houses people 55 years and older. They tell Lucy Bryson they are fed up and are now withholding their rent until the elevator is fixed.
Kathy Bays Alberts is a resident at the Federal Place Apartments in Jackson, Kentucky. Just last year, Kathy was able to use this elevator to get up and down and do what she wanted independently. But last July, the elevator broke, and since then, the doors have been shut and yet to open.
Can you get down the stairs by yourself?
No.
Not at all?
No.
It takes 43 steps to get to Kathy's apartment, which is a difficult task for anyone, but for her, it's impossible.
And after nearly a year of isolation, she's finally taking action.
Me and a few others in the building are withholding our rent until we have a working elevator. They've left us no choice.
She's doing this to take back a life she once had.
Every day I went down and got my meal. I was able to socialize with other people going down to get their meal. Right now, my son's the only one I see, really.
Residents were given a letter in early May promising that the elevator would finally be repaired, but it's now July and the elevator remains broken, leaving Kathy waiting in her apartment.
I do not think it's fair, and I do not think it's right.
And although she is withholding her rent, she says she's not scared of the repercussions.
If they did evict me, how would they get me out of here?
And says she'll keep speaking up until she's free again.
The saying on the back of this shirt definitely applies to me.
In Breathitt County, Lucy Bryson, WKYT.
Albert says she has since contacted the governor's office about this and hopes to get the news about her situation spread across the state.
Most of us are dry across the mountains into this evening, but we are watching out for some higher rain chances as early as tomorrow. Those details coming up. Plus,
the Kentucky Department of Agriculture announces this month is Kentucky Alpaca Fleece and Fiber Month.